Hello folks, my name is Mark and this is Mark's Movie Reviews. How you guys doing? And this is a review of Suicide Squad. This is the third movie in the DC cinematic universe. And the first two not being up to people's expectations. And this one, I could say, is definitely a step in the right direction, but I wouldn't call this a good movie by any means. It's, in my opinion, much better than Man of Steel and better than Batman v Superman by far. But there's a lot of problems with this movie. The first thing you'll notice is that the tone is taken a much lighter direction. Lots of colors, right? Which is something that was a criticism of the other two movies is that they were too dark, right? And it looks like they deliberately tried to film, to include a lot of color in this movie, But you can kind of tell that when they began, they were still following the Man of Steel, Batman v Superman model because probably 80% of the movie is filmed through like a dark lens filter. Like even in the daytime, it looks like it's dark outside, so you can kind of tell, like, because apparently there were like some reshoots around this movie and stuff, and it really shows. It kind of gives a very disjointed sort of experience. Like one scene will be all like light and colorful and fluffy, and then the next scene is like fucking you can't even see what's going on. It's so dark. It's kind of weird. Some of the music doesn't really seem to fit the scenes that they're like on. One in particular is when the character of Amanda Waller is introduced, and she walks in the room and they're playing "Sympathy for the Devil" by the Rolling Stones, right? And you can see the symbolism. It's because she's supposed to be like Satan and shit like that. She's supposed to be the worst of them all, and it doesn't fit the scene. It's like you can tell that that scene was intended to be like quiet, you know. Like that scene was intended to be for her to show up and like to walk in and to be intimidating and shit like that, and instead they kind of threw this song over it, And you can tell, you know what it is? It's like they were going for a Guardians of the Galaxy kind of feel. That's what it was. It's like it seems like they were in the middle of making this movie, and then Guardians of the Galaxy came out, and then they said, "Oh shit, that movie made gangbusters. We should make this one like that," right? And then they threw a bunch of rock songs over it and stuff like that. That's what it looks like to me. But anyway, so let's start with the good things. The good things are the cast, for the most part, in this movie nails it. Will Smith does an amazing job. You know, uh, Even though he pretty much just plays himself. But that's when you get an actor who's really good at doing something, that's what they do. And so when you go to see a movie with Will Smith, you're really watching the Will Smith story. But he nails it. I mean, he's really good at what he does. That is playing Will Smith, right? So he plays Deadshot. And Deadshot is probably the only character in the movie that actually has a backstory that makes you care enough about him, to like actually like he's the only character that you actually give a shit about, and he's kind of the main character in the movie, pretty much. Second is Margot Robbie, who plays Harley Quinn. She does really good too, with what she has to work with. Harley Quinn's role in this movie is essentially just to throw out one-liners at the end of, just so like there's a joke there. Like you can almost hear the fucking like little drum roll, ba-dum-cha, after she makes like a joke, you know. And there's like that's basically her entire thing is just like like all she does in the movie is she kicks ass, because Harley Quinn gets lots of the slow motion kind of fighting scenes, where she's like dodging shit and like doing like backflips and hitting people, and then she like busts out with a one liner. But there are a couple of scenes where she kind of does really well, and those have to do with her interacting with the Joker, which we'll come to in a minute. So there's a few of them. There's like one where well, I don't want to give up too much away, but let's like they have a scene where she's pretending like that her and the Joker are like, you know, husband and wife, and it's actually pretty good, and I think she pulls it off really good too. So she does well with what she has, and I can see why she's kind of the popular breakaway character from this movie. Next one, speaking of the Joker, he's played by Jared Leto. They hyped the Joker a lot in the previews for this, but he probably only gets maybe 10 to 15 minutes of screen time. And I think the Joker in this movie is tragically underutilized. Because he's actually pretty good. You know, a lot of people out there are saying they fucking hate this like iteration of the Joker. I disagree. I think Jared Leto pulled it off really well. This Joker is more of a gangsterish kind of Joker. You know, he's like kind of like a kingpin sort of. You know, but he's and it's very like I can say that this Joker is one that's truly frightening. You know, Nicholson's Joker was campy and funny, but at the same time, you know, scary. You know, as in like he'd be laughing at you and then shoot you or whatever. And then the Dark Knight, the Joker in the Dark Knight was just totally fucking psychotic. He had no idea what the fuck was gonna happen. This Joker, like, there's a few scenes in there where he actually Jared Leto has a very frightening on-screen presence. You know, like the one in particular where like there's this one they're in this strip club, and like Harley Quinn is dancing, and there's this other gangster there, and they're like talking about Harley Quinn, and like the expression on Joker's face just changes like that. You know, he's like totally happy and all the shit, and then it just goes bam, and you know, 10 seconds later he's blowing this dude's brains out, and you're just like, whoa, like it's a really, you know, that's really good. Unfortunately, he's barely in the fucking movie. He's basically in flashbacks. And then there's like a few scenes where he's trying to like rescue Harley Quinn or whatever, and that's it. And I know that there's more because they have additional scenes in the fucking trailer. So I know some shit has been cut out, and he probably had a larger role in the movie, which is really too bad. They should have kept him in there, so. Most of the other characters are pretty much forgettable. Jai Courtney's Captain Boomerang is pretty funny, but he's got like 3 lines in the whole movie. You know, he does well with what he has. Killer Croc, I really like his makeup, but he also only has 2 lines, so it seems like there were like just a lot of characters they threw in there just because they like could, you know. Another one was Katana. I think that's her name. She's the Japanese assassin with the sword that sucks your soul or whatever. She's barely in the movie too. It seems like, oh, we got these people, we got to use them, write them in there somehow, and it's like, you know, that's a waste. It's like if you're gonna do that, you might as well just leave them out, you know, like, and that's another criticism that, you know, I gave to Batman v Superman. You know, the same thing. Like Wonder Woman had like barely any screen time in that movie, you know, and the thing is, it's when it's done right. You know, you can have a movie with like a very large cast like that. And when it's done right, it's fucking awesome. Like, you know, for example, Captain America Civil War, you know, like everyone in that movie had a scene, everybody had an arc, or a little bit of an arc, or they had some scene where they could shine, you know. Not so in this movie. It's like, you know, Captain Boomerang, you're like, who's that guy again? Like, and then there's another character that they introduce, I think his name's Slipknot. They introduce him, and then 5 minutes later he's dead. It's like he's just there just so that they can show like someone's head getting blown off, to show how serious, you know, Amanda Waller is. It's like, why even have him there? Why not just put some generic bad dude, you know? Why even have to have that scene? You don't really need that scene. Speaking of Amanda Waller, she's played by Viola Davis, and she's the perfect person to play Amanda Waller. I could say that not only does she look like Amanda Waller, she's got the Amanda Waller act down, and I could say like her performance, I think, is even better than Will Smith's. She just nails it like 100%. You know, like she plays it like she's a complete scumbag, right? But she's also in control at all times, and it's very heavily implied that she's the worst of them all. You know, like there's a part where they rescue her, and then as she's leaving her room, she fucking kills all of her assistants. And you're just like, whoa, where did that come from? And, you know, and she turns to the guy and goes, well, none of them were cleared for any of this. And it's like, holy fucking shit, she'll just shoot you for no reason, right? So she just takes it away. And she's one of the reasons why I'm saying this movie is not a bad movie. Like she pulls it up. I can say that for sure. Um, so getting back to the actual movie, it's the rest of it is very very disjointed. It scenes follow scenes that don't seem to make any sense. You know, like for example, there's a part where they come to this building, and they're here to rescue somebody, and Harley Quinn gets in the elevator, and then like like goons are jumping in, and they're fighting these sort of weird like zombie things, right? And like she's like fighting him in this elevator, and then they get out and all the dudes are there, and it's like, why is that scene there again? Like that didn't add anything to the movie. They, and the thing is, I know that they cut stuff out, so they left shit like that in, but they cut out other important scenes. I don't understand. um, it seems like they go from one building to another building to another building, and you sort of lose track of like where they are or what they're doing, and it's like, what, like how does this shit happen? And then like stuff happens without any explanation. Like for example, they're flying in on a helicopter, right? And they're we the audience knows that they're going to go fight the Enchantress, and stuff like that. But then like bullets and shit are flying up from the ground, and you're like, why are there like machine guns shooting up at him, like anti-aircraft guns? Where did this shit come from? And makes them crash. It's like, what? And then they fight a bunch of people, but they're like normal people that have been taken over. They're not even like soldiers. It's like, what the fuck is going on? Like, how did machine guns show? It just seems like shit got cut out that would have explained all this, or at least explained it better. I don't know. Speaking of the Enchantress, she's played by Cara Delevingne, I guess. I don't know how to pronounce her name. And she plays it like, I don't think she pulls it off very well. Like the primitive looking Enchantress actually is pretty cool. Like when they first see her, she's first very primitive looking. She's got like dirt all over her and stuff, and she's sort of like this like mute kind of like scared monkey sort of thing, and you're like, okay. And then she sort of like powers up to be like this goddess type, and the whole time when she's in her like goddess outfit, she's like hula dancing. It's like, what the fuck is going on? She's like seriously like dancing and shit, wiggling her booty and everything. And I guess, is that part of the magic spell? Like she's trying to cast some spell to create some machine to turn people into zombies or something. And I don't even really know. It's like it's supposed to be a machine that'll wipe out mankind, but you know, does it like, so they have to bring people to it to like brainwash them, or like they don't explain any of that shit. What the fuck is going on? I don't know. But the whole time she's doing it, she's like, she looks stupid. I'm sorry, she looks stupid jiggling around like a fucking marshmallow. And then like her brother comes, who's like some kind of weird Mayan fucking alien thing, and also there's Diablo in the movie. Diablo is like this gangster that has like face tattoos, and you know and I don't know. It's just very like he's like forgettable. That's the problem with Diablo. Like he's supposed to. And the thing is, all right. So I know shit's been cut out because Diablo is like he's like this gangster. He's a pacifist, and he's like, I don't care about you guys. I'm never gonna fight. And blah 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 blah. Right. Then by the end, he's fighting, and he's like, I lost one family. I'm not gonna lose another. It's like, well, wait a minute. When did you guys become a family like that? How did that shit happen? So it just seems like large pieces were like hacked out of this, and then the rest of it was cobbled together with linked together, and then a lot of fucking like rock songs were like put over it, to try to like stitch it together, to try to make it more like Guardians of the Galaxy. That's what it seems like to me. And the thing is that the end result is still not a horrible movie. It's still very watchable. Just as long as you don't try to like pay attention to it and make too much sense out of it, it's actually very enjoyable. But it's not a good movie. No, if I had to give it a rating, I'd give it an average. Slightly above average. I'd say like 6 out of 10, something like that. Not a piece of shit. Not something that you'd enjoy. Not like a good movie by any means. But I do think it is a step in the right direction for the DC cinematic universe. They're starting to realize that not everything has to be the Dark Knight, so that's kind of cool. And I'm kind of hoping that, you know, maybe the next one might be a little bit better. Maybe like they'll kind of get into a groove, you know, and we'll see how it goes. So anyway, that's it for me. Adios, folks.